Welcome to the series that I'm doing right now on the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for vet clinics. The reason why I wanted to do this series is because I work with a lot of veterinary clinics throughout the country, and there's a lot of confusion when it comes to digital marketing. Not that vet clinics don't understand digital marketing, it's just that there's just a lot of information out there on how to do digital marketing, what works, what doesn't work. And sometimes it can seem like voodoo witchcraft. I didn't make that up. A client made that up when they mentioned that to me. So it can be very confusing. There can be a lot of things that you're supposed to do, things that you're not supposed to do. There's a lot of hearsay, and there's a lot of experts out there that are saying, do this, do this, do this. And sometimes those are not the things that are right for your vet clinics. And so I put this series together. I've made it very easy for you. It's a 3-parter. In the first part, I'm going to talk about website, claiming your location pages and the importance of those kinds of pages. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about reviews towards the end of the first episode. In the second episode, I'm going to talk about SEO and content marketing, as well as email newsletters and how to make that useful for your veterinary clinic and get more patients through the door. And then finally, in the third part, I'm going to talk about social media and paid media. There's a lot of do's and don'ts there. I'm going to give you a very quick overview on those things and give you a pointer. Like I said, the point of this is to give you clarity, to give you direction so that you have a good starting place to get your veterinary clinic to the place that it needs to be and the place that you want it to be. So with that, let's get started with the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for a veterinary clinic. Welcome to the latest episode of Corner Your Market podcast, and I'm your host, Silas Kimide. In this podcast, I talk about all things digital marketing, from website design and development to SEO and PPC, as well as paid advertising, email marketing, and social media, as well as anything in between. If you're a small business owner or a marketing manager or even an entrepreneur and you're just getting started with your business, this podcast is for you. So tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You'll gain some practical insights, new strategies, helpful tips and tricks and tactics and tools that can help you grow your business. I provide helpful information to business owners like yourself to help build your company, help build your business through digital marketing. So just subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like and share our individual episodes. You can also leave a comment. I love comments, and I try to respond to every comment that I get. So with that, I want to thank you for joining this episode. Let's get started on this episode. So today, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the first one. I mentioned the 7 essential digital marketing tactics, right? So let's talk about the first one. The first one is website. And I know that in this day and age, it might seem very obvious that this is something that you need. But I think a lot of times vet clinics kind of ignore the essentials and fundamentals of a website. I got a call about a year ago, actually, maybe a little over a year and a half ago, from a veterinary clinic owner. She had listened to one of my talks at a veterinary symposium. I also do speaking engagements. So if you're an event planner and you're watching this, I'd love to, I don't want to give a plug right now. Let's just get the topic going. Sorry, I'm not a sleazy salesman here. So yeah, this veterinary clinic owner called me, and she said that, I know my competitors down the street are booked 3 weeks out. 3 weeks out. They're booked solid 3 weeks. But she was only booked about 4 or 5 days out. And she was concerned about that. And so I did a quick review. And what I found is that her website was really not good. It was a DIY website. The information was cluttered. The information was bad. It was just, anybody that got there was just didn't know what to do, And so I think people were bouncing off of that. So let me talk about the website, the importance of the website, because we've redone her website and her business is on the right track now, with just improving the website, right? So having a professional website that represents your business and that is mobile friendly is just essential. So here's a few things on that, right? Make sure that your website has a user-friendly design. I think it goes without saying that if it's not easy to navigate and it's not easy to find information on the website, people just bounce. They don't stick around, right? So who's going to spend their precious time trying to figure out where your contact information is, what your background is, and all that kind of stuff? People just don't have that kind of time. I've looked at analytics on the back end analytics on websites for 20 years now, and I can tell you that people spend less than 8 or 9 seconds on a page. I'm not joking. 8 or 9 seconds on a page. Just think of the way you use a website, right? So a clean, simple, intuitive interface that allows visitors to easily navigate and find information. And you make sure it's a responsive design, so it adaptive design, so it adapts to different devices, and that the menu structure is easy to find. Just clean design, right? A lot of people just have somebody that does not know you go to your website and give you some feedback, because that can tell you whether or not your website is user-friendly or not. And then the next thing is quality content. The content that you have on your website needs to speak to the user. It needs to speak to the pet user, right? The pet owner, not the pet user, sorry, pet owner. Now, it needs to be all about their pets, right? I mean, people don't necessarily want to know about you until they know that you can solve the problem. So if they have, maybe they have behavioral issues with their pet and your business is not appropriate for that, that needs to come across really quickly so that they're not wasting their time. So I would say quality content, useful, relevant, consistent content, blog posts so that they know that you're an active and ongoing concern, articles, videos, those are all great things. And what I mean is, don't just dump it on the website, on the homepage, right? You got to it's got to be clean, easy to just what I said earlier, user-friendly design and things like that. Good content keeps people engaged. It ensures the content is make sure the content is well written and designed for your target audience. And then your load time, right? I mean, load time, 2 seconds, folks, 2 seconds. Anything that takes longer than 2 seconds to load is going to be detrimental to your SEO. Google actually will measure it on the back end and see how long it's taking to render the entire page. And if it's taking more than 2 seconds, you get a ding on your SEO. So 2 seconds, test it out, make sure that it works really well on all device types, mobile particularly, because 70% and more, and I say more because I think it's going up every year. I saw this data maybe a year ago. 70% of traffic online is mobile traffic, which is not that surprising considering how everybody's hooked to their devices. So fast load times, right? And then the other one on your website is make sure that you have a strong call to action. Now, call to action, you might not know what that is. Call to action is, what do you want people to do on your website? Schedule an appointment is a popular one for vet clinics. Contact us is another one. Learn more is also another one that works well. The CTAs, the call to actions, can be different for different industries, right? So since this is a veterinary clinic, imagine the person coming to your site. They've got to bring their pet in. It could be maybe if it's an emergency situation, maybe you need to have a call to action, say emergency information here or something like that. They click on that, they get all the emergency information. So basically, you need to have a strong call to action on your website. What do you want them to do, right? I can tell you what the good ones are, but I can also tell you what a bad one is. A bad one is very generic. Subscribe to our email newsletter. It's a good idea to do maybe towards the bottom of the page, but not make it prominent and things like that. So strong call to action. Another one is security and credibility. Users expect your site to be secure, right? I mean, I think many hosts nowadays by default give you an SSL certificate, so that point is a little bit moot. But sometimes those certificates don't auto-renew. I've seen many situations where those SSL certificates have not auto-renewed, the website is out of compliance, and it might not have been going on for too long. Maybe it's just been going on for 3 days, but that's 3 days of traffic, 3 days of people coming to your site and getting that warning, right? So make sure you have reminders on when your SSL certificate expires. Check on your website check on your website or have somebody that is data privacy policies, those cookie policies. I mean, it's good to have, not essential, but it's just good to have some of those things in place. Privacy policies, just so people know that I'm not saying that you have to have attorneys on the back end monitoring everything, but what I'm saying is you do need to have the presentation of those things so that people know that you are for sure a real ongoing concern that takes security and credibility very seriously, right? So let's see here. We talked about on the website, we talked about user-friendly design. We talked about quality content. We talked about fast load times. We talked about strong call to actions. We talked about security and credibility. I know I mentioned it in passing, but mobile friendly, let me make that an additional point here on the website. Mobile friendly, a mobile friendly website design is just going to do you wonders. Make sure that your website is in good condition, right? So obviously design is important as well. Just the visual presentation, clean design, making sure your website looks well, presents you very well. Having information about the veterinarians is important. People go to the homepage and then people go to the About Us page. That's usually the second most visited page on a veterinary clinic site. Is they see what services you offer on the homepage, and then they go see who the doctors are, who the veterinaries are, who the vet techs are, who the folks are on the back end that are going to be working for you, working on their pet, and all that kind of stuff, right? Which then brings me to the second tactic, the second essential tactic for a veterinary clinic. The second one is your claimed location page. That's the Google My Business page, the Bing My Business page, the Apple Business page, the Facebook Business page. Those are the most important, right? Don't get suckered in by some of the other providers that are probably calling you every 2 days saying, hey, you don't have a listing on our thing, Just ignore them. Don't worry about it, man. I mean, believe me, I have so many clients. All they have is a Google My Business page, a Bing My Business page, and that's what they focus on. And you might think, why Bing? Well, Bing sells their data or is pulled into Facebook and Yelp and some of these other places. So I think they still do that. I gotta double check that information. Put a pin on that and check it yourself if you're not quite sure about that. But Apple is important because people use Apple Maps, CarPlay. If they're about to come to your clinic and they didn't they didn't have their address right away, they're gonna go to CarPlay or AirPlay, whatever it's called, and then they're going to try to find your location, right? So that information needs to be up to date, current in Apple as well. One of the big things on your claimed listing pages is NAP. NAP stands for name, address, and phone number consistency across all listings. Wherever you create a listing, make sure you have consistency in your NAP. 3 things here: name, address, and phone, right? What that means is if you are let's say you are Southtown Vet Clinic, right? And some places you've written Southtown Vet Clinic, other places you've written Southtown Veterinary Clinic, and other places you've only put in Southtown Clinic Southtown Vet. Those are 3 different, in those computers and those listings eyes, those are 3 different businesses, right? So and then in your address, let's say you're 123 East Main Street, some places you've written 123 Main Street. Other places you've written 123 East Main. Other places you've written 123 E Main ST. You just got to keep all of those things consistent. And then just have one phone number that you're using across the board everywhere. Just one phone number. Just having that consistency also helps with credibility for Google's search algorithm. They're continually indexing your business and they're trying to figure out who you are, right? So Southtown Vet Clinic needs to be, well known by Google so that it knows who you are, it knows that you're consistent across the board and things like that. What I usually recommend to people is that they basically have a sheet that basically says, okay, this is our official name, this is our official address, this is how we write it, and any outbound communication, anything that is visible on the internet, any directory listing, YP, there's so many. I mean, I think there's still so many. has that address, right? So even if you have another issue that comes up is some of the veterinary doctors or dentists or veterinarians themselves have pages, and so the address in there needs to be consistent as well so it can associate it. But that's something that comes up quite a bit, actually, those doctors with their own pages. I think people are moving away from that now. That hasn't come up in a few years. I remember a time when a lot of the veterinarians had their own listing pages for Dr. So-and-so, and then they were moving around different clinics, and the new clinic wants to get rid of the old listing, but it's owned by the old clinic and things like that. So complicated. I think that's been cleaned up. I think Google's cleaned that up, and everybody's cleaned that up. So, and then when you have a claim listing page, make sure that you use all the fields. Don't give up any fields. Even those optional ones, fill out all the details. Full address, phone number, website URL, opening hours, service categories, as many as you can think, descriptions, anything that is relevant to your business. If they're asking for it, find a way to give it to them so that those fields are all full and they have all the information about your business and things like that. So upload professional videos, professional photos of your business. High quality photos, man. Cameras are cheap, folks. Let's not skimp out on those things. Photographers are a dime a dozen. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. Find one that can come out occasionally and do pictures for you. You will definitely find that to be useful for your overall presentation. And then do regular posts and updates on your listing pages as well. I think Google My Business allows you to post blogs or snippets of blogs on there as well. Make it unique. Rewrite the first paragraph or something and say, learn more, and then point them back to your website. But get that kind of up there. You know what I mean? It helps with those kinds of things. And then monitor and engage on your page. The business pages are going to be where people are leaving reviews and things like that. And we're going to talk about reviews because that's the third tactic. We're almost there. We're going to get there, I promise. And monitor it, see what people are saying, but also, just keep an eye on your page. It's not a set it and forget it kind of situation, folks. You do need to massage it. You do need to work on it. You do need to make sure that it's updated and things like that. So that's the second tactic, right? So the first tactic was website. The second tactic was your claim listing pages. And your third tactic now is review strategy. When it comes to your review strategy, there's a few things that you got to keep in mind, right? I mean, a couple of things, just right off the top of my head. Quality over quantity. I mean, your competitor down the street might have 285 reviews, but they're just 5-star, 1-star, 2-star. Just star reviews is not as great as the quality of the reviews, what people are actually writing in there, putting in there, and things like that. So we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just too excited about this, right? So when it comes to a review strategy, the first thing that you want to do is you want to ask for the review. So many, I'm just going to call them patients. I know the pet is the patient, but I'm just going to talk about the human patient. When the veterinary doctor asks, or the actual doctor asks the patient for a review, that is like way up here. That's the best. Now, not all doctors I talk to, not all vets I talk to are comfortable with that. They feel like it's a little weird towards the end of the appointment to say, hey, if you've had a good experience with us, do you mind leaving a review? I get that. I think there's ways to do it. I'm going to let you figure that out, because I have talked to a lot of veterinarians who have said that they've figured out a way to do it. I heard one veterinarian give this great tactic where he said he had a cat patient come in, and they figured out the insulin issue and things like that. And the way that he approached it was saying, hey, patient, I was really glad I was able to help your cat with this insulin issue. I see a lot of patients with this issue, and there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding of that. Would you mind writing a review on our page about how you became educated, how it was resolved, and how important it is to take this issue seriously? Because I want your experience to help other people so that they know that they can come here and that they can get their cat's insulin issue resolved. that was a great technique. I think it was not a direct way. Hey, thanks for coming. Please leave a review on your way out. No, that's a used car sales guy kind of tactic, right? Nothing against used car sales guys, but just saying. So ask for the review, brainstorm some ways in which you can kind of do that, and then make the review process easy for your patients, right? Hey, can you go to our page and leave a review? No, they're not going to sit down, Google your business, find the right page, leave the review, blah, blah, blah. No. What I recommend is having a QR code on the invoice, having a QR code on the door that takes them directly to where they're supposed to write their review, right? And then if you're doing an email follow-up, put the link in there, and then maybe, just in case somebody's at their desktop and at work, they get that email, they can't type it up right there, but they want to save it. Also include a QR code in the email so they can scan it with their phone and keep it on their phone. So lots of ways. You just have to make it easy. It has to be less, the fewer the clicks, the better, right? I think we all know that. The fewer the clicks, the better. So ask for reviews directly and politely. Make the process really easy for them. I would recommend getting reviews mostly on Google, Facebook, and maybe Apple. I'm not a fan of getting reviews in other sites personally. A couple of things. One main reason is Google is the king of search, and they're going to value the reviews on their own properties more than other places. And so having a good, high quality set of reviews on the Google My Business page is going to go a long ways than a very, very good review probably on Yelp. Nothing against Yelp. I get a lot of calls from people from Yelp, and there's great folks out there, but that's just the reality of the world that I'm telling you about, right? The other thing is figure out a way to pull in those reviews onto your website. One thing that we've done is, when I've worked with clients, is we use a WordPress app. This only works with WordPress sites, obviously, that basically automatically pulls in and puts the latest Google reviews on the home page of the website. So that's a great way for you to leverage those reviews directly on your website. Now, other platforms might have their own ways of doing it. You'll have to look into that if you're using other platforms. That's another plug for WordPress, by the way. WordPress has cool little plugins and things like that for all kinds of stuff, and this happens to be one of them. So incorporate those reviews on your website, showcase the authenticity of those reviews. It reassures people coming to the site, reassures them that, validates that they're making the right decision. And then respond and thank people. Positive, negative, right? Respond. Say thank you for your positive review. Really appreciate it. Glad your pet's doing well. Blah blah. Copy paste it. Change a couple of words. Have your office manager do it. Not a big deal. The negative reviews are the ones where things get a little bit tricky. I've had veterinarians call me and say, "Hey, this review, can we get it removed?" and things like that. Now, removing a review is not easy. But we have been able to do it. I've been able to do it. And the only reason why I've been able to do it is because I screen them very, very, very much. I mean, I know Google's policies on reviews. If you call me and say, I want this removed because XYZ, I need to make sure that XYZ is actually a valid reason. However, if you can't get the reviews removed, removing a review is not a valid strategy, is I guess what I'm trying to say there. A valid strategy for negative reviews is to just respond. I mean, respond, address the concern. Sometimes it's a pricing issue. I see that a lot. Sometimes it's a lack of attention to detail that the patient feels like the vet was rushed. Address those issues, just head on. Offer an avenue offline to maybe address it. And then if they do call you, address it offline, resolve it, and then have them go back and write a positive response afterwards, right? So that's a way to address those negative reviews. It really is not hard. A lot of times people get very emotional. People get very, very stiff, tense up, and then they don't make the right decisions. I think what I would recommend there is just take a step back, have a strategy in place on how you're going to address it, and respond to those negative reviews, right? So another thing that comes up is, should I incentivize patients to write a review? Yes and no. I wouldn't give cash out. I wouldn't do things like that. I don't know that people really are doing those anymore. I know early on it was like, hey, you're going to be entered into a drawing if you leave a review and things like that. But I don't think people are doing those things anymore. It's okay to incentivize, just make it relevant, make it, on brand, make it classy. Don't make it sleazy, because if what you put out is what you're going to get, right? So, and then multi-channel, again, I think I mentioned it. There's a lot of sites out there. There's BBB has, even the BBB has a review section. It may not be a bad idea. I know I'm pushing Google, Bing, Apple, and Facebook. If you can get a couple of reviews in there, in each of those from time to time, but the majority on Google, that's great. But another thing to keep in mind is, if you're part of the BBB, or there's a BBB near you, or there's other like really prominent, things around in your neighborhood, in your city, which you feel like might be a good place to be, maybe have a strategy where once or twice, like once a month, you try to get one review on those sites. That way, over time, you have a consistent build-up, and it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to do that. I only say that because I had one company that I'm a client of, asked me to write a review on BBB, and I thought that was an interesting strategy. I thought that was good, because part of it was, I don't know how many people are checking BBB reviews, but they had some negative ones, and I felt like, even after I read the negative ones, I was like, man, these people are not really. I think they're upset about other things. I don't think they're upset about this particular business, and I felt bad for the business owner. And I went ahead and wrote the review, and I gave him my take, because I've only had a positive experience with them. So I want to balance things out like that as well, which actually brings up something that I almost forgot to mention, because I'm almost towards the end here on this first episode. Don't worry too much about a negative review, as long as you have a 90-10, 90 positive, 10 negative, you're going to be fine. Now, the reason why I say that is, look, if it's all 5-star reviews, glowing reviews, man, that doesn't seem real to me, right? Because we're not perfect. You're always going to have a certain percentage of people that are not going to like something you said, right? Like, for instance, I didn't know until I was married that there was a right way to breathe, right? So anyway, that's my attempt at humor. But having 1 or 2 negative reviews from time to time is not going to kill your business. The vast majority of the people are very reasonable. They know that there's ups and downs. They know that somebody could have a negative experience and things like that. So don't panic. Now, if you're getting more than 10%, maybe you're bordering on 20, 30% negative reviews, that's a time to panic, right? And by panic, I don't mean like fire off all kinds of stuff on the internet. What I mean is, you need to retweak your strategy. And maybe you do have a problem in your service. Maybe people really are genuinely not liking your pricing. Maybe you need to adjust the way in which you deal with your checkout process. Maybe your vets are not doing a great job. That is a possibility, folks. So don't discount that. But anyway, that also brings up, reviews can be a great way for you to assess your business. As a veterinarian, you're probably so busy in the weeds. That's a great place to go and read and say, okay, maybe it'll stroke your ego, and you're like, oh man, people love me. Or maybe it'll give you some opportunities. Oh man, we need to improve this and that. So anyway, so that's the third thing. So to wrap up this episode, this is part of my series on the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for vet clinics. Today I talked about the website, claim listings, and reviews, and this is the first episode. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about SEO and content marketing, as well as email newsletters, right? So stay tuned for that one. It's going to come out shortly. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me on this first episode. Hopefully, it's brought a great value to your business. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm also on YouTube, so you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find my podcast on all the major podcast listening stations. Don't forget to write a review, leave a positive feedback. And if you have a negative feedback, send it to me. I'd love to hear it as well. So with that, thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Happy marketing.